Well, hello, and thank you so much for joining me once again for an episode of our Nightscape Images adventure. And today we find ourselves out here at this magnificent location. And I want to show you three really simple compositions, and all of them are involving trees, and some of them trees and water. So let's get into that now. Okay, so coming to our first composition, this is what I entitled the Lagoon Milky Way. And I had my camera sitting right down here, about this high from the ground, facing in an easterly direction. So the reason for that is because the Milky Way core was coming up above those trees. Now when I shot this, it was fairly late, and the core was already fairly high in the sky. So my decision was to use my Nikon Z6 camera with the Nikon 14 to 24 f2.8 set to 14mm to get the widest possible composition that I could get as far as framing. So as I said, I had the camera low down here to the ground, and I decided to shoot in a portrait orientation to get more of the reflection in the water and more height in the sky to get the Milky Way core as it rose up. Now, my decision was to shoot 10 stacked images. So 10 of exactly the same shot. And I decided at 14mm f2.8, 20-second shutter speed, and ISO 6400. And all I did was shoot 10 of exactly the same shot. Now, one of those images, there was a little bit of light painting, very minor, on the tree over there. And the main reason I did that was because I wanted to ensure that the reflection of the tree shone out in the water. And it did just that. And I was really happy with how this image came out. Okay, so here we are at our second composition for the evening, and I've entitled this Tree of Reflection, and you'll see why in just a moment. Now just have a look behind me here. Isn't this just an absolutely magnificent scene? We've got this beautiful old gum tree right down the end there, and this lagoon of water. So we've had a fair bit of rain just recently, and you can see the water flowing down to the base of the tree. You know, in photography, and especially nightscape photography, we often do our best to actually overcomplicate our shooting scenarios. So with this one, I want to show you a simple composition shot in just one image. That's right, no blending, no stacking, no nothing, just one single shot. And I'll talk you through my methodology behind it. So in this scenario, what I did was place my tripod on this log. Now, the key to this shot was to get the camera in line with the lagoon of water here. Not as easy as it may seem, because I'll show you in a minute, there's not great access here, and especially at night time, these logs get pretty slippery, so you have to be really careful. But what I did, I placed my tripod here on this log, facing as much as I could directly down the lagoon, so that when the tree was lit, and I'll run through that in a minute, but when the tree was lit, the reflection was visible in the water. It was a really calm night, and that's also vital for good reflections. This lagoon is hidden away from a lot of other areas here, quite well sheltered by the trees around. So even if there is a little bit of wind, it wasn't really too bad. So getting that tripod straight on to the tree and the reflection was the key. So maybe in this shot you can see the difficult access I had to get onto this log. Now this is a huge log, it's not going anywhere, but around it down here there's a lot of sticks and bits and pieces that are trip hazards. So yeah, it's just a matter of being really careful to place your tripod in this shot, but that's what I wanted to do. So there you have it, it's a really simple shot. So what I decided with this one was to use my Nikon Z6 with the 20mm f1.8 lens, and that focal length was just wide enough to be able to get the whole tree and a fair proportion of this water reflection in one shot. I shot at ISO 6400 for a 15-second shutter speed at f2.8, and I was absolutely delighted with how that one came out. And so there we have it, uncomplicated imagery and yet so beautiful. And you know, isn't that really the definition of creative photography? That's what we strive for. So I want to move on to one more location and show you another set of circumstances just over there in this same area to shoot another nightscape. Let's go. So here we are at our third and final location for this video. Have a look at that single little sapling tree over there. That is the subject for another nightscape image. Now I know I've mentioned in plenty of my videos, including this one already, just how much I love dead trees or trees of any sort for nightscape images. And so one of the challenges with shooting and finding compositions is actually locating trees that stand by themselves in a paddock without too many other trees behind. So here in this particular spot, I found this little sapling, a gum tree sapling. It's only a small tree, and because it's small, it was fairly easy to isolate it away from the trees that are on either side here. And the other thing I liked about it was that it was facing in a southwesterly perspective, and because of that the Southern Cross was hovering over the top of the tree, and I thought the composition looked particularly good. So what I did, I decided I wanted to really highlight the stars above the tree, and to do that I decided to stack 10 images. Now I shot them with my Nikon Z6 with the 20mm f1.8 lens. Put the camera just over there, fairly low down to the ground, so I could still get a fair bit of this grass in the shot. And took 10 shots, 15-second shutter speed, f2.8, ISO 4000. And then on the very last of those 10, so I shot them back to back very quickly. On the last shot, I just hopped over there about 60 degrees angle from the camera, got my Lenser P7.2 torch, and just shone a little bit to catch some highlights on the side of the tree, and also to catch a bit of highlight on the top of this long grass that's all through this paddock here. And I was absolutely rapt with the end result. Now, one of the other things I particularly loved about this tree was just this bend you see in the trunk here. Isn't it just amazing? I just love it. And you know, there's trees like this absolutely everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, you will find something like this. But you know, the key is to actually have your eyes open and scout. Now, if I had come down here, in fact, for any of these compositions, if I'd come down here in the middle of the night without any understanding of the lay of the land, I wouldn't have been able to find them. I might have fluked one, but certainly not all three of them. So what did I do? I did some scouting during the daylight hours, and I've talked about this endlessly before, but you know, you have to put in the legwork if you want to get the results like I'm showing you here. Well, we've come to the end of the video. This has been a fairly short video because I just wanted to highlight some simplicity in our compositions for our nightscapes. So I'm pleased that you've been able to join me once again. Love it out here under the stars, and even just out here now in the daytime. It's calm and quiet and there's nobody around. I've just got a few sheep for company, and that's fantastic. So I look forward to seeing you again out here under the stars. And you know, if you'd like to leave a comment below, then please feel free to do so. I'll try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. If you feel led to subscribe to the channel, love to have you on board, and you can do that also by hitting the bell icon down below. So until we meet again out under the stars, I'll look forward to seeing you then.